I've covered wars, you know.
All right, hi everybody. Here we are today talking about a movie that I as a standby observer, thought was a tie-in to Dead Rising 3, the video game.
And I, as someone who's played every Dead Rising game, also thought it was a tie-in to the Dead Rising 3 video game.
Yeah, but as it turns out, apparently it was released 2 years, right?
After.
2 years after the game.
One day before my birthday.
Yeah, any revelations that the game had for game players were already like 2 years old. And to a casual viewer like me, we're like, who gives a damn? So anyway, we're talking Dead Rising Watchtower. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, Guntik?
Stinks.
Well, we know that, but give us a little stats on stats.
I thought it was a tie-in. It wasn't. Came out 2 years later. It was apparently Legendary Digital's first movie, I guess.
First foray into filmmaking.
Digital filmmaking, I guess, or releasing
which just a note on that, it looks like a digital film
like crap
that nobody bothered to digitally grade, so it's flat.
I think Marvel.
Yeah, not even Marvel has a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
More of a look. It's about as vibrant as the color gray.
It's true.
So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It came out like 2015,
March.
And this year it had a sequel. It was directed by the director of the hit film Leprechaun Origins.
Oh yeah, we know that's good.
That's a good one. And we couldn't find a budget for it, so that's telling you something.
That's a good sign.
That's a good.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, we live in an era when the zombie film has come to prominence again. I mean, it came and went. Like the '60s and the '70s brought us George Romero's wave.
Zombies are all the rage right now.
Yeah, the '80s brought us the Italian wave. And then ever since 28 Days Later, zombies have gone on an up ramp. And so this thing had a lot to live up to, and it delivers on none of it. As a big, like I said, I haven't played the game, so I didn't know anything but just seeing you guys play it.
Stinks.
But, the story was...
We should mention, I will give my thoughts on Dead Rising 4 at the end of this.
Yeah, and
we'll unbox that turn.
And we're going to do a little unboxing of this.
But
Dead Rising exclusive, supposedly. But yeah, this thing does nothing at all to distinguish itself from the other movies. In fact, all you can do is compare it and go, well, that's just underwhelming as hell. So you guys have played it.
I've played every game. I own
how
every game.
How does it fit in, first of all, into the mythology?
It doesn't. Okay, it's after Willamette, so it's after part 1.
Well, according to the plot that I read, by the way, it's important to note that when he told me that we're gonna watch this film, I was like, "There's a movie," so that's pretty.
And this guy likes freaking Dead Rising, like big time.
I love Dead Rising, dude.
So,
but according to the plot that I read, it's actually set in between part 2 and part 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
which makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that I guess.
Considering the revelations,
I guess that makes sense because the revelation is that they're putting chips in people.
And again, underscore the fact that the revelation is 2 years late because they had already released the game.
Yes, the game. Okay, that is a big part of the game. Like towards the middle or end, I don't remember honestly. It's been a while. You find out that Phenotrans has been chipping people, and they're basically making ticking time bombs across the U.S. to boost their sales. Right?
Yeah. Typical
evil Umbrella Corp type shit.
And this movie is a setup for that.
And that's a setup, but you're already like, dude, I already knew this.
And just to underscore, I who have just seen you play the game, I was like, okay, I guess that's going to be the plot. And yeah, it was the plot. But there was like zero suspense.
There's nothing.
Zero at stake.
It's also worthy to note that in the game they mentioned that there's only 52 people that are chipped, one in each state. Apparently there's like 80,000 in this one.
Forget that. Yeah, because this is the first instance of that, so you would think.
Yeah.
But okay, so like I said, there's zero interest in the plot that is so thin. By the way, that like you said, you read the plot, and I mean that's just testament to how bad this movie does at capturing your attention. You're literally like whatever the whole time, more criticizing it, not listening to it. You lose your attention span's out the window, but you still know the plot.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Well, because you already played the game, so yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't played the game, and I was like, all right, whatever.
Because there's like no thought put into it. You're
None.
like, okay, I get it. Stop. And then when they start giving you evidence of things, they're like, okay, we get it. Stop. Freaking blows.
Let's point out some of the bad. What is the absolute worst? And there's hundreds of faults in this movie. Before we go there, though, let me just point out that the movie is not technically horrible like something like the recently reviewed Black Cat. Check out that video if you haven't heard about that. That's a technically horrible movie. Technically, this is not an inept movie. It's just so bankrupt of creativity. Exactly. Forgettable, bland, etc. So that aside...
And then it puts you in a state of mind in which you just have to be like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, you can't suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, at all.
Really?
Especially considering the source material where they have to bring in these weapons that are like outrageous and stuff. When they do, you're just like, ah.
Now, I expected the movie to be like more action-y, you know, like go with the ludicrous nature of what you're doing.
Yeah, this is a movie that calls for that.
And it doesn't. Yeah. It's just lame.
It's just, and it sucks because they try to do a thing where, kind of like a Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead, where they interest you in the characters, so the drama between them in this zombie-infested world is supposed to be interesting, but they're not.
They lick.
They're horrible. Well, but anyway, I digress. Let's go back to what is the one biggest glaring fault among all faults that you found in this movie.
Probably the biggest flaw is that in a zombie movie, there's only like one zombie, and this is after Dead Rising 3, which introduced over 2,500 zombies on screen.
Yeah.
So you're like, really?
And you recognize that this is a low-budget movie, so they have to,
Yeah.
But there's been low-budget zombie movies that make you feel horde mentality.
During the first scene, I was like, I mean, okay, maybe it'll get better. But then it got worse.
Yeah.
At one point, there's literally 3 zombies, and the people are like, oh no, we have to get into this place to be safe. You're like, and they just, instead of running around the zombies, because there's infinite space, they go straight to the zombie and go, oh no, I'm in pain now. And I'm like, don't run to the zombie then, you fool.
Yeah. Guardian and I noticed that there was a moment of, I guess, character development and exposition between 2 of the main characters. And I guess the drama was supposed to be heightened by these zombies clawing at them from beneath. But when they show the zombie horde, the camera is the shot is framed so I guess ineptly that they pan over this mini horde, and then I emphasize mini horde because there's this like vast empty space that makes you go, there's no threat here. They can literally just jump over them and run away.
Yes, and that happens a lot in the movie. You're like, you could just do that.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
And I think the thing that frustrated you the most was the sweeping epic shots of the city that show nothing on the street.
As you pointed out, they could afford to clear out this town.
Yeah.
They could afford a freaking helicopter flying over this damn place.
and drone, because that's all
drones. But they couldn't afford to go to like a middle school and be like, hey kids, you want to be zombies for a weekend?
Or even college kids,
anything.
For college credit.
People will do the zombie thing for free.
If Romero has taught us anything, is that people will do zombies for free.
Yes.
Gladly. Even if the movie sucks, they'll do it for free. And instead, nothing.
There's
not one guy.
Every time they sweep over the city, there is no one. It's just empty.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, okay, fine. If this were a standalone movie tied to nothing, then maybe... whatever. The virus is still developing or something, but it's tied to Dead Rising, which
is known for throwing freaking zombies at you.
And let's also note that
this is the game. Hold on, sorry. This is the game that had a zombie kill counter at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and this is set in the world where it's between part 2 and 3,
yes,
which is established that there's hordes of the undead.
Yeah,
everywhere,
and it's in a town. You would expect thousands of zombies.
And now it is worthy to note that they do say that this outbreak just happened again, but they make you understand that it's spread citywide, and they make a big hubbub about it.
Yeah, they
still show you nothing.
Seal off the city.
Yeah, nothing. Now you could argue, okay, again they didn't have budget, so they couldn't afford masses. But like I told you guys. They could have literally just shot a city on a Saturday night and gone, well, those are zombies. And it would have looked better than empty-ass streets. But, that was interesting.
This.
Oh, yeah. Zombie movements
The zombie movements are some of the... Apparently, every zombie has broken their ankle. and or suffers from spasms of some sort. I mean, if they're not dragging an ankle or a weapon, they're doing one of these.
Mind you, there is a type in the game that does that, but they're the queen, which they didn't even bring the queens in.
They didn't bring any of that stuff in.
Well, to be fair, I mean, we've already passed, I think, that point.
Yes,
because in part 1 in the game...
That's one of the things that's constant throughout all the games, except for part 4, is the queens.
Yeah.
But even as fans of the game, it would have helped a little, or I wouldn't say help, but it would have been nice to hear something about that to acknowledge that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least mention like, oh, there's no queens because of this.
Yeah,
because
cringy,
they're being developed
but
for the Zombrex or something, you know?
Yeah, something.
Instead, it just comes off as clumsy. Okay, so Guardian, what was the most glaring fault for you in this movie that comes to mind?
You see, going back to the whole no budget thing of, well, the budget of $2 apparently, you kind of have to find ways to make the direction or make something interesting. And the thing that pissed me off the most was they kept on POVing random objects and or weapons.
It's like they found a GoPro and was like, oh, we got to stick this in every single freaking shot.
Yeah. I don't think it didn't seem like a GoPro to me. It seemed like some cheap ass camera.
Well, whatever it was.
But
either way, the intent was supposed to be this is dynamic angle.
It was supposed to be this is interesting. We're shooting a different way, but it just comes off as lame every single time they use a weapon.
Like we've seen it in other movies, but they never overdo it like that.
They do it better, and it falls in line with the mood of the movie, or the spirit of the movie, I should say. Not necessarily the mood. For example, Dead Alive, Evil Dead, etc.
A good example of that is from Dusk Till Dawn 2. It had a lot of quirky camera angles, and that kind of worked for that kind of genre.
Yeah.
And this one, it just felt... It actually felt more of a cheap, immature, or amateur type of
I think it
production.
It was only fine like twice. And the rest of the time, it was like, God,
I didn't understand. Look, like you said, we've seen it in other movies, and we've seen it done where it looks good. But some of these angles were like, what the?
What are we
gun POV?
I think gun POV was sadly the best one.
Because that was the first one that came out, and it actually made sense, I guess.
And then we got the broken sign POV.
Later ones were just dumb.
Yeah, the one that I guess pissed me off the most, and I think was the last one, was when there was a weapon POV, but it was facing the dude that was hitting someone, not the person that was being hit.
I guess that would have been cool if he like shot and it splattered on his face, but it just looked like shit.
Yeah.
And to me, it seemed more amateurish to do that, essentially.
And that's the thing, like, you mentioned earlier that they didn't frame the zombies out properly.
Right.
There's a lot of that where you're just like, you could have just moved the camera a little bit.
Really,
and there was also that same shot where they were shooting the mini horde, and then they went to like nothing. The main characters were discussing something. I honestly just tuned out because I was just like, sucks.
But it was plot.
But during that, because they were trapped on some ledge, and on the bottom there was like a mini horde, and then behind them there was a closed door with zombies. They were pitting the window.
Yeah, they were.
And it's like, shouldn't you hear zombies and everything like groaning or something? Not just complete silence and them talking.
We should mention that they try to do the psycho thing with the bikers. The games kind of take the route of zombies aren't really the threat. It's more the people that
as is usually the case with
especially nowadays.
Stuff. Yeah.
For a game that was unique back when the first game came out, but they tried doing that in this one with a biker gang, which are kind of in the third game.
Dumb.
And I mean, sadly, they were the most interesting part.
They were the most interesting part, but it sucked.
Yeah.
It was like it seemed like a rip-off Bane from Dark Knight Rises, only in this movie. And he's taken over this entire city, and he's power hungry and mad, and he wants to expand his influence. Blah blah blah. But my biggest concern with that was, how did he devolve mentally? To that point within such a short period of time.
Like I say, like that happens in the games, right? These people are already crazy. But in the games, you feel that you're like, okay, there's been hordes of zombies. You assume people have gotten their like parents killed or some shit. Something has happened.
Yeah, circumstances are much, much more severe.
To the point that they get there, especially in the first one in which everybody's barred into Willamette Mall. And you're like, okay, the people got here somehow. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Here,
it just
started.
Yeah,
it
literally
just started.
like a day.
So you're like, what? And then that's fine, right?
That
would be fine if they showed zombies.
Yes, and before. Sorry to interrupt, but I just before this, and it's not like this guy was a criminal
he actually says I was a normal dude.
Yeah, he clarifies that he was just a normal dude
working a 9 to 5,
working a 9 to 5, and of course we all know that's frustrating crap. But apparently, within the span of 24 hours or less, that was enough to turn him into like a roving Mad Max gang leader.
I guess, like I said, it would make sense in the game if, especially in part 4, as a tease. Well, I'll give my thoughts at the end. It's happened in the town, and you're like, okay, I could see this guy being like, okay, my life sucks. Now I'm fighting zombies. This is fun. But in this movie, it doesn't make sense. He also mentions that he made his way into the wall, so he wasn't there when the outbreak started.
Yeah.
So that doesn't. He seeked out this.
Yeah. Which brings me to, I guess, my biggest concern with the game as a non-gamer, like unlike you guys, I'm sorry, in the film,
the hit film,
is that it was structured like a game, not like a movie. And now you'd think that would be good for the target audience, which is game players, but it's not.
It's not,
because it just feels like these little beats.
But the thing is,
that get you places.
The sad thing is, and yes, he's right. They do that. But what makes it even worse is that the games do it so much better.
Yeah.
Like the games, they're built around you as a journalist. At least the first one and the fourth one, they're built around you as a journalist trying to find out what's happening, and it kind of like drip feeds you some information throughout the story. In this one, you get it in the beginning, you get it somewhere in the middle, and then at the end, and it's all stupid. You're like, okay, I knew this already.
Yeah.
Now the thing about this particular piece of cinematic glory is that the hit film,
number one hit film,
is that it started right, as things do. Then
all right,
a whole lot of nothing happens for like about an hour, and you stop caring about it like halfway through it.
There was a point where I checked the time remaining, and it was still an hour, and we were barely an hour.
This is a 2-hour long movie.
This is a 2-hour-long movie that could be 10 minutes long.
And like when interesting things start happening, it's already halfway into the movie, but by that point, you've already tuned out so much because it's so dull.
Or you already know what's going to happen.
Or you already know what's going to happen and everything, that anything beyond that is kind of meaningless, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually brought up during the viewing of this thing, is that if they would have started an hour into it, you would have been like, okay, I know what's happening, but this is interesting. Let's go from here. Yes, it's lame. Yes, the actors can't do anything,
but
yes,
at least stuff's happening because nothing happens the first hour.
But it's interesting, so I'm going to continue watching this.
Yeah.
Whereas in this particular film, they feed an hour of nothing essentially, and it tunes you out. And by the point that things get interesting, you're like, oh, I guess I should pay attention now, but I don't want to.
And here's the thing: like, I know we're tearing into this movie, but I was actually kind of like, I mean, it can't be that bad, right? Like, I was kind of, especially in the first like 10 minutes when when Ahab was clearly unimpressed, and I was like, I mean, it'll get better. And then like 15 minutes in, I was like, this is turds. This is terrible.
And I wasn't hopeful for the movie. I thought, I mean, generally this type of film, or I should say, this type of fodder, it tends to be of lesser quality. Like tie-in stuff tends to be of lesser quality. But I was willing to forgive it that.
Yeah.
And like, it did nothing,
Like
man.
I brought up while we were watching, I told Guardian that they did a similar thing. This is when I thought it was a tie-in for Dead Rising 3. Apparently it wasn't. They did a similar thing with Forward Unto Dawn for Halo 4.
That's right. We need to talk about that shit.
Throughout, it was a mini-series, so it was like, what, 3 hours long maybe?
3 hours?
4 hours long?
No, the Forward Unto Dawn thing was like about an hour and a half.
Was it?
Well, it was...
Point is, it was a multi-part thing.
Yeah, it was 5 20-minute episodes, I think.
There you go. So it was a multi-part thing, and it kind of felt cheap, right? You're like, okay, I can see the budgetary restraints on this, but it did it in a way that was interesting, and you kind of forgave the fact that you only see the Covenant at the end, right? Well, because it's interesting, and the characters are kind of interesting. Here, you don't care instantly.
Yeah. What passes for character development in this is wooden acting.
Yeah.
With some horrible writing. and the major tool that they use to progress the important plot, which we already know, I, a non-player, knew, was the use of these little kind of like cutaway vignettes, or
it's the news while it's going on.
Yeah, it's basically they use the news to tell you the time you got left, which is a thing in the game.
Yeah, it is.
For before the army destroys this place, and they use that to progress. To push forward the ideas of both sides of the story, which is the military side, the civilian side, I should say, the military side, and the protagonist inside. But what's awful about this is that we have this horribly digital, cinematograph. Geez, I can't even say it.
It looks cheap.
The lighting looks terrible.
It looks terrible. Doesn't look like news.
This world that looks like horrible, and then they cut to these.
Looks like horrible.
To these super staged, horribly like almost green screen type news vignettes. Which are, man, they have some of the worst acting I have seen,
and yet, it's probably some of the better ones in this movie. Like, that dude's bad, but at least it's something. Whereas the rest of the movie, I didn't give a shit. And then, sadly, most of the stories told to you through these little stories, and they bring in Frank West, the character from the first game,
which is the guy that is apparently always the guest interviewee in the news vignette
for like 3 days, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
And since apparently it is part of the story of the games, he survived Willamette and all that shit. He is in full off the record Frank West mode, aka asshole. But the guy, I mean, like I told them, he's funny sometimes. It's just in this, he sucked.
Yeah, I thought he was absolutely dreadful, terrible, not funny.
I wanted to punch him in the face.
Yeah, he was bad, man.
That Frank West character was bullshit.
Now, I pointed the writing's terrible, but those cocky, smarmy, supposed to be funny lines would have been funny coming from someone like Bruce Campbell, someone that knows how to camp it up and chew that scenery.
That's the thing. When I found, because I knew who played him in the movie, because I got curious, I was like, this dude is not good at that. He's not good at cocky shit. Why would they pick him? Turns out I was right.
Yeah, it was bad, man. So that's another thing. The acting in this is
terrible.
Is terrible. The best actor is Jesse Metcalf, best known from Passions, which is a soap opera.
A little bit of a plank, but sadly he's one of the better ones.
Yeah, sadly he's one of the best. Everybody else is pretty much. I mean, they're not.
The chick was all right, I guess.
They're not Z grade bad, but they're bad, and then compounded with the fact that you're watching one of the most boring things ever committed to film. It makes it all the worse.
Like, sadly, if these people were in a better movie, I could see it working. It's just that the directing was terrible. The writing was horrendous.
The writing was terrible. Yeah. And then here's the thing, okay? Like, with a zombie movie, sometimes, and we've watched this, we've seen movies where, they're basically...
Guardian's dead over here.
They're basically gore flicks sometimes, Sometimes you can enjoy the zombie movie for its gore quotient. If you think... that something like what's it called,
Burial Ground.
That's
terrible, but it's fun.
Or House by the Cemetery.
Yeah, we
or
should
something
mention
like that.
We have a high tolerance for crappy movies.
Yeah.
I mean, crappy movies are great.
We can watch like The Black Cat, which I recently saw.
Stop pimping out your videos, dude. What the hell?
Well, it's a terrible movie, but if we would have seen it together, we would have at least had fun watching it, have fun making fun of it. This thing killed our souls.
Yeah. No fun at all.
No fun, zero. And then the gore, when it's there, is horrible,
it's CG,
man.
First of all.
CG blood, which looks terrible.
It does. At one point, a blood stream went through a zombie's head.
That's cool.
That was cool.
And then, the zombies are just people with like blood coming out of their mouth, basically. And some contacts in.
You could forgive that if the movie was cool, but it's not.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. I mean, we've seen movies where the zombies are
28 Days Later, zombies were pretty freaking lazy. But
that's because they're not zombies.
Yes.
They're infected.
Anyway, the zombies are pretty lazy. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just the guy with the contacts. But
they work.
And
in the movie, it makes sense. Here, it's like, okay, these are supposed to be zombies, and they look like crap.
Yeah,
and they move like crap too.
Like in lower budget zombie productions, they usually have these hero zombies. 3 or 4 or 5 zombies that you see throughout the movie are at the front of a horde, and they fluff up the zombie horde. So you kind of focus so much on them that you kind of fill in the blanks and go, everybody looks like this.
Yeah.
But they didn't have one hero zombie in this, or I guess they did. They were just so unimpressive.
Yeah,
I mean, they had the clown.
The clown was probably the best
cop,
one.
and that's it. And they licked.
The clown was the best one, looks wise, and it sucked.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So the gore was. There was one sequence that was pretty fun, and that's when the main character, whose name I forgot because he sucks.
The first action scene, like an hour in.
Yeah, like an hour in, when your soul's already dead, this guy decides to man up, get some balls, and do something. And they do like this kind of like one single shot.
In theory, great.
Yes, in theory, this would have been a great shot. You know,
anybody
follow
else
this guy.
filming it, like Zack Snyder, give him shit all you want, he would have made this scene kick ass.
Yeah, it's like something like Alfonso Cuarón would have done, like he does in Children of Men. Only take that and take any quality out of it and
dumb it down, like,
and creativity out of it.
Notches.
Yeah, like you could definitely see the parts where Metcalf, whose name I forgot, was waiting for his cue and shit. You know what I mean?
What's his goddamn name? Chase Carter?
Chase Carter, yeah. Yeah, but basically the camera follows the guy through a horde as he dispenses into a bus, and as he dispenses of zombies in creative ways, and that was kind of cool.
It was cool.
It could have been so much better, but it was just done so crappily.
First it was in the middle.
It was really slow. First of all, you could see them wait for their cues.
Yes.
And of course the movie looks like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But other than that, it could have been really cool.
Yeah. As it is, it's kind of cool in a movie that sucks.
It's the only entertaining part.
That part was cool for me. Another part that was cool for me as a horror fan, granted, this is in this movie where I was already like, please give me something to latch onto before I kill myself, was the scene where one of the main characters, who again is about as disposable as a paper fucking cup, encounters her dead daughter already in zombie form in this room full of zombies, basically, and she is so enamored with her daughter that she hugs her, and then the daughter bites her, and then all these zombies creep in. The shot was kind of cool, actually.
The shot looked okay, but I think it's more that you saw that you could make this look better.
I mean,
I could make that look better.
Definitely.
Well, it added a dimension to the, I guess, emotional subplot of that.
It really didn't.
But yeah, it didn't, because of the fact that
you could see that working in a movie. That's the thing. Like, you see this scene and it sucks, but you could see it working if they had done it well.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you like it.
It didn't help that the actress didn't know how to act.
She was
terrible. And it didn't help that the actual character didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
So when it came up, you're like, oh, this is supposed to be a cool shot, but it's not.
It's not the scene. It's not that I was invested. Yeah, it's not that I was invested in the characters or that it mattered because they were developed so horribly. It's literally that the actual shot, the technical shot, the view was cool.
It's
like, and had somebody else done it better, it would have been really cool looking. But that's it. In the middle of nothing. And I kind of like the end shot when they finally bomb the city and it shows the little girl and her mom.
Zombified.
That was kind of cool. But, you know, again, this is like crumbs in a shit fucking trail leading to an old witch's house that's going to eat you.
The hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Black Cat, which is better than this.
God damn it.
So, enough of the Black Cat.
Freaking click over to the Black Cat.
If you want to. Final rating.
Final rating is a 0 out of fucking... No. 0 out of 10 was Black Cat, because I could actually enjoy 0% of that. This is -3. This is $10 Slimer.
This is $10 Slimer.
Eviscerated.
I'm a huge Dead Rising fan. If I had bought this movie, I would have been pissed. I would have $10 Slimer. I would have uppercutted it into your anus, and I'm not talking about the planet.
Just to be clear, this movie is available free on Crackle.
Don't watch it.
Which is an app. So you can see it free on Crackle.
With ads?
What's great is that you can see where the ad breaks are.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, come on.
Which is fine, really, because the ads are probably better than the movie.
That's a good point.
Anyway, I give it a negative $10 Slimer out of 10. Guardian?
I give it a welcome to the after party out of 10.
Oh man,
the best line ever.
Overtime, man. Come on.
In the game they had this mechanic where you finish the case essentially and you pass what you're supposed to,
and then get overtime.
And then you get overtime mode where you play more of the game.
So
Essentially,
the zombie's leading his horde, and he goes, "Welcome to the after party." When he could have just said like, "Welcome to overtime," and it would have been like a throwback,
a cool tie-in, and it really.
I mean, it would have been cringy, but better than "Welcome to the after party."
Yeah, that was bullshit.
Welcome to the after party out of.
Also, my real rating is $10 Slimer here out of negative eons apparently.
Creons.
It was bad. And the reason why I'm dead is because it drained my cheese so much that I'm just kind of like. Meh. And also, it's important to know that we were supposed to watch this yesterday, and I was just passing out from work and everything.
Just watched it.
I would have fallen asleep.
It would have been the same effect.
That's why. It would have been better for you.
Possibly, I would have gotten some rest, some good rest, because, damn.
Yeah, this is bad in the sense that it's not fun to make fun of or not fun to look at all. It's just bad. Guntik, your rating on this classic Dead Rising Watchtower flick?
This is freaking broken ass Konami game out of zero. That doesn't even make sense because it's not a Konami game; it's a Capcom game. Point is, piece of shit. $10 Slimer.
$10 Slimer rating through the house. Through the house.
We've gone a bit long on this review because this movie sucked. The big one
did.
So we're gonna make a separate video on my thoughts on Dead Rising 4.
Initial impressions.
So click to that. Click to his Black Cat freaking video, apparently.
Black Cat, way better and free, like Dead Rising Watchtower. It's free.
Oh, I got it. My rating is not even worth the price of $0.00 out of 10.
Out of 10. So the other video we're going to do is his initial impressions on Dead Rising 4 and
Saturday,
whatever the hell this thing is.
Sometime later this week, we're gonna review the second movie. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
and
it can't be worse than this.
And I'll give a more in-depth review of this game because I'm still playing it. So click over to those turds if you're in the future.
And like, share, and subscribe. Give us a like; it helps out.
We'll comment
back. The little thumb up really helps.
Dude, if you like. You're cool. I can't guarantee anything else. We're not rich. We're not making money.
We'll give you this broken ass bell.
The bullshit bell.
because we don't have money for shipping.
If this bell was in that room, it would have been broken like in the first 10 minutes.
Big time. Give it a shit bell.
Hold on, let me assemble it again.
And that's about as good as the game. As the movie.
This is Ahab, the Guntik, the Guardian, signing out.
Reviewing crap just for you.
Ready? 3. Sea Fiend.
Yeah.